Okay, so first what I want to say that this video is not intended to come off as an argument, an attack, at all aggressive or disrespectful. I think a lot of times we end up getting jumping straight into arguments and bypassing any sort of a calm discussion or debate. I think on the internet, a lot of times we end up just jumping straight into an argument, whether it be misinterpreting or assuming the tone that someone's using. I say assuming because you can't really get tone from like a written text anyway. I don't know. I take responsibility because I probably do the same thing myself sometimes. When I disagree, instead of really taking the time to talk to a person, it comes maybe more in the form of an argument or an attack. So I'm trying not to do that now, but rather to just explain what I was trying to explain in my text comments, but I feel it's easier to just make a video. The point I was trying to make about Negro, the term Negro being an old slave term, being offensive, and I can't tell you it's not offensive. If it's offensive to you, it's offensive to you, and that's fine. But the point I was trying to make was that it's not an old slave term, and it's not, I don't think it's nearly synonymous with nigger. I don't think Negro was necessarily a racial slur. It was a term that black people accepted and even embraced at one point. Like I was saying, I remember learning in class, and I can't remember where I read this, but I'll look for it. If you really want me to, find the source, I'll try to find it. But they said something to the effect that Negro was embraced in the place, I believe it was in the place of color. We've constantly been renaming ourselves, if I'm correct, from colored to Negro to black to African American, black and African American. And I remember reading or hearing in a lecture that, there was a point where black people had embraced Negro as they saw it as something more political, there's something revolutionary about it, and that it linked them to other black people in the diaspora, especially those in Spanish-speaking countries where they would say Negro, which was just black. But it was somewhat of a political move, and it was something that they took pride in. Especially when we're talking about certain, writers, scholars, activists. So it wasn't something that was kind of thrown upon them or was offensive, like nigger, for example. Now, black people might call each other nigger, whatever, but that's never something that was actually consciously taken and said, you know what, we take pride in this because. You may have people saying that nowadays for whatever different reasons, but as far as Negro, it's not something that's inherently offensive. I think it's one of those things where, as we've been constantly renaming ourselves, the old term becomes outdated. It becomes somewhat inappropriate. And I even mentioned the fact that, honestly, I think there's some of us, including myself, who might be a little bit uneasy about hearing a white person today say black or black people. There's just a kind of tone that might kind of set us off sometimes unnecessarily. I think we need to realize that. But sometimes, there's some kind of a tone put on that, and it just doesn't quite sound right. And I think the same thing goes for something like Negro or colored. If it's 1970, 1980, and you come across somebody who calls you colored, especially if you're talking about later, like 1990, it's kind of like, dude, we don't call ourselves that anymore. Like that's a bit, you're a bit out of tune with what's going on, and maybe it shows a sign of disrespect, or that they don't really care what you want to call yourself. I'm going to call you what I used to call you, colored, Negro, nigger, whatever. And I think the same goes for something like, say, I don't know, Oriental. There was a time, correct me if I'm wrong, but where Oriental was a pretty accepted term for an Asian person of Asian descent. And I don't think it was a racial slur. But if you were to say that now, if you were to come across an Asian person now and were to refer to them as Oriental, or their people as Oriental, they'd be like, Well, that's inappropriate. Like, we're called Asian now. You know, people have advanced and they're a bit more politically correct, a bit more knowledgeable in their terminology. And I think it's the same way with Negro, with colored, that it's not that I'm inherently racist, or this word is inherently racist or derogatory, but that it's outdated. You know, we don't use that anymore. So when someone does use it, it just, depending on the context, it may not quite come across right. But nigger is not slang for Negro. They have similar roots, and now I'm not an expert on this, as much as I do like, studying language and linguistics. History is more so my area, but I believe they both have their roots in Latin. Is it Latin or French? Latin, something like that, word for black. But I think the two have pretty different histories. They diverged over time, and nigger is not just a derivative of Negro in the American English sense, of the word. Like I said, I can't tell you don't be offended. That's up to you. I don't want to be called a Negro either. It would be kind of weird, especially depending on who's saying it. But if for example, my great-grandfather, when I talk to my great-grandfather, he's, I believe, 90 years old. He'll say colored folks, colored people. And I wouldn't doubt if he would say Negro. I'm not sure I've heard him say it. But I don't see anything offensive about that. And on the same token, I think I'd have to say, if I were to come across an old white man, if I know an old white man, a nice old white man, but that he still says Negro or colored, I don't know if I could assume anything about him and think that he's racist just because of that. I don't know. Because that's the term that he grew up using. And just like he was using it when, in his younger days, black people using it in their younger days. So, it's not an old slavery term. It's not a racist term, per se. Like I mentioned, the books, like Carter G. Woodson, Miseducation of the Negro, United Negro College Fund, or, colored people, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. They're terms that were perfectly acceptable in their day, and now they're just a bit outdated, but I don't think that they're inherently wrong or derogatory. I did not write anything down. I feel like I should have, because I feel like I'm forgetting things now. This is 3 Negro classics, W. E. Du Bois, Souls of Black Folk. He said black, and that was a while back. Autobiography of the Next Colored Man, which I haven't gotten to read yet. And Up From Slavery, Booker T. Washington. So it just shows, the different terms that we've used for ourselves throughout the years, throughout the decades. I'm not trying to insult you or anything, talk down to you. I hope you don't take it that way. But this is just my opinion based on the knowledge that I've obtained, based on what I've learned about this, about blacks, and Negroes, and coloreds, and what we've been calling ourselves, and what we've been called over the years. Shout out to, I don't even know how to say her name right. For the Wake Up Negro poem. I hope this has been informative to someone out there. And I hope I haven't forgotten anything, because I don't feel like having to re-record this or anything. Maybe I'm gonna look over this and make sure I said everything that I was trying to say. I guess that pretty much sums it up. If not, maybe I'll have to make another video or something. For any confusion that might be out there, black, colored, Negro. I can't say I have a problem, inherently with any of those. African American. We've just constantly been going through these name changes, and it's kind of complicated.